My mom left me a rundown warehouse. My mother didn't leave me jewelry. She didn't leave me cash. She left me a warehouse. And not the trendy, exposed brick kind people turn into loft apartments. I'm talking about a rusted metal door, broken windows boarded with uneven plywood, and weeds clawing through cracked concrete. The kind of building people drive past and assume is haunted. The lawyer slid the file across his desk like he expected me to argue. "I understand this may feel unconventional," he said gently. "That's one word for it," I replied. "My older brother, Ethan, actually left. You always were Mom's favorite," he said. "Enjoy your tetanus shot." He inherited the house, the savings, her retirement accounts. I got parcel 17B, Industrial District, West Side. Estimated value, minimal. Estimated repair cost, extreme. "She was very specific," the lawyer added. "The warehouse goes solely to you." No explanation, no letter, just a set of old brass keys attached to a faded blue keychain I recognized instantly. It used to hang in our kitchen when I was a kid. Mom never talked about the warehouse. Not really. When I was 10, I asked once. She said, "It's just storage." But she'd said it too quickly, too carefully. 2 days later, I stood in front of it. Clouds hung low over the industrial strip. Half the buildings nearby were shuttered. The other half looked like they were one stiff wind away from collapse. I stared at the faded numbers painted above the door. 17B. Storage, I muttered. The lock resisted at first. Rust flaked off when I pushed the key in. It turned with a heavy click. The metal door groaned open slowly, dragging against concrete. Dust floated in thick, unmoving air. The smell hit me first. Old paper, oil, something metallic. Light filtered in through broken skylights in thin beams. I stepped inside cautiously. My footsteps echoed. It was massive, far bigger than it looked from outside, and it wasn't empty. Rows of shelves lined the walls, wooden crates stacked with precise spacing, covered furniture shapes draped in white sheets. This wasn't random storage, it was organized, meticulously. In the center of the warehouse stood a large work table. On it sat a single object, a leather-bound ledger. Waiting. That's what it felt like. Waiting. My heart thudded louder than my footsteps as I approached it. The cover was worn but polished. My mother's handwriting was etched inside the first page. Inventory log private. Inventory of what? The first entries were dated 27 years ago, before I was born. Item descriptions filled page after page. Lot 001 acquired. Lot 002 restoration complete. Lot 003 held for appraisal. My pulse quickened. Appraisal? I walked to the nearest crate and brushed dust off the side. Stamped in faded ink, Lot 014. I looked back at the ledger. Lot 014. I flipped pages. Found it. Description: mid-century oil canvas. Verified original. Original what? Hands trembling slightly, I pried open the crate with the nearby crowbar. The wood splintered with a sharp crack. Inside was a painting wrapped in protective paper, carefully sealed. I peeled it back. Even under dim light, the signature at the bottom corner was unmistakable. Not a print, not a replica, an original. And I knew exactly how much originals like that sold for. More than the house Ethan inherited. More than the savings. More than everything. I slowly turned in a circle, staring at crate after crate. Lot numbers everywhere. Paintings, sculptures, antique furnishings. This wasn't storage, it was a collection, a hidden one. And if Lot 014 was real, then everything in here might be worth a fortune. My phone buzzed suddenly in my pocket, making me jump. Ethan. I hesitated before answering. "Well," he said casually, "is it as worthless as it looks?" I glanced at the open crate, at the signature, at the rows and rows of untouched lots. A slow realization settled in my chest. Mom hadn't left me junk. She'd left me something else entirely, something Ethan clearly didn't know about. And as I opened my mouth to respond, the warehouse lights flickered on, one by one, behind me. The lights didn't just flicker. They powered up fully, rows of industrial fixtures humming to life across the ceiling. I froze. The building had looked abandoned. The breaker panel by the door was ancient. I hadn't touched it. "Hello?" I called. My voice echoed too loudly. Silence answered. On the phone, Ethan was still talking. "Did it collapse on you?" "Call you back," I said quickly, and hung up. My pulse pounded as I scanned the warehouse. Nothing moved. No footsteps, no shadows. Just rows of crates glowing now under harsh white light. Then I saw it. A small security camera in the upper corner, near the office door. New. Not rusted, not old. New. My stomach tightened. Someone had been watching this place, or still was. I walked slowly toward the back office. Each step felt louder than it should. The office door was locked with a keypad, modern, out of place against everything else. Who installs a digital lock in a supposedly abandoned warehouse? My eyes drifted back to the ledger still open on the table. Inventory log, private. I flipped toward the last few pages. Recent entries, much more recent than I expected. 6 months ago, 3 months ago, 2 weeks ago. Lot 198, secured. Lot 199, pending transfer. Transferred to where? My breathing grew shallow. Mom had been sick the past year. Chemotherapy, hospital stays. She could barely walk unassisted by the end. She wasn't hauling art crates 2 weeks ago, which meant someone else was. I turned another page. A folded envelope fell out and landed at my feet. My name was written across it, not in her familiar looping script, in block letters. I crouched and picked it up slowly. The paper felt new. Inside was a single sheet, typed. "If you're reading this, it means she didn't tell you everything." My throat tightened. The collection isn't just valuable, it's leverage. Leverage against who? You are not the only person who knows about this warehouse, but you are the only legal owner now. Legal owner. My hands trembled slightly. At the bottom was a phone number. No name, no signature, just call before you move anything. I stared at it. The hum of the overhead lights suddenly felt oppressive. My phone buzzed again. Unknown number. I swallowed and answered. A calm male voice spoke immediately. "You turned on the lights." Ice slid down my spine. "You have cameras," I said carefully. "Yes." Pause. "You shouldn't open crates without understanding what's inside them." "I opened one, and I understand perfectly." A soft chuckle. "No, you really don't." My free hand clenched. "Who is this?" "Someone who worked with your mother." "Worked how?" He continued. "She built something bigger than you realize, and if you sell it carelessly, people will notice." People, not collectors. People. "I have documents," I said. "Everything is inventoried." "Inventory isn't ownership in this world," he replied calmly. The keypad behind me beeped. A soft click. The door unlocking. I spun around. It slowly creaked open on its own. Darkness inside. The voice didn't change tone. "Go into the office." I didn't move. "Why?" "Because if you don't," he said evenly, "someone else will." The call ended. The office light flicked on automatically. On the desk inside, I could see files, stacks of them, and a single framed photograph of my mother, standing next to a man I had never seen before, smiling like they shared a secret, and I realized I had just inherited more than a warehouse. I had inherited a war. I stepped into the office. The air inside was cleaner, conditioned. This room had been used recently. The desk was solid oak, polished, intentional, not abandoned. The framed photos sat at the center. My mother looked younger, strong, confident. Beside her stood a tall man in a charcoal suit, hand resting lightly at her back. Not romantic, strategic, partners. Behind them, I recognized the warehouse walls, but empty, fresh, newly acquired, a beginning. I set the photo down and opened the top file. Inside were certificates of authenticity, transfer records, private acquisition contracts, but not just art, cultural artifacts, recovered pieces, items flagged decades ago as missing. My stomach tightened. This wasn't just a secret collection, it was a reclamation archive. Some pieces had been stolen long ago, during estate disputes, fraudulent sales, overseas transfers. My mother hadn't been hoarding wealth, she'd been buying back history, legally from what I could see, but quietly, strategically. Another file was labeled Contested Claims. Inside were correspondences, law firms, anonymous donors, negotiations. My mom had been moving like a chess player for decades. The warehouse wasn't about money. It was about leverage, proof, pressure. My phone buzzed again, the same unknown number. I answered without speaking. "You're in the office?" the man said. "Yes." "Good. Then you've seen enough to understand this isn't eBay inventory." "I see that," I replied evenly. Silence, assessing. "She trusted you," he said finally. "With what?" "With finishing it." I glanced at a whiteboard on the side wall I hadn't noticed before, a list written in marker. Lot 201, pending retrieval. Lot 202, private return agreement. Lot 203, Whitmore estate. Whitmore. My breath caught. Ethan's in-laws. Old money. Very old money. The Whitmore estate had a reputation for aggressive acquisitions in the 80s. "And this is where the leverage comes in?" I said quietly. "Yes." My mother hadn't left Ethan the house by accident. She hadn't left me the warehouse randomly. She separated visibility from cower. Ethan inherited comfort. I inherited influence. "There are people who won't be pleased if certain items resurface publicly," the man continued. "Are they dangerous?" "Powerful. Not the same, but close." "What do you want from me?" I asked. "Nothing." Pause. "Except discretion." "And you?" I said. "What do you get?" A slight chuckle. "I already got paid, years ago. Your mother believed in long-term place." I looked around the office again, at the files, at the decades of quiet battles she fought while packing my school lunches. I thought I knew her. I didn't. "You can sell it all," he added. "Cash out, walk away. Or you can continue what she started." A breeze rattled the loose warehouse panels outside. The building didn't feel abandoned anymore. It felt alive, intentional. I walked back onto the main floor and looked at the rows of crates. Not investments, evidence, restoration, justice in wooden boxes. My phone buzzed again. This time it was Ethan. "Hey," he said casually. "By the way, the Whitmores are hosting a gala next month. Huge donor event." I smiled slowly. "Really?" I replied. "Yeah, big legacy display, historic pieces from their private collection." Historic pieces. I glanced at the ledger in my hand. Lot 203, Whitmore estate. "I might attend," I said calmly. There was a pause. "Why would you want to go?" I looked up at the ceiling lights humming above me. "Because sometimes the run-down warehouse holds the truth, and sometimes the truth walks into a gala wearing heels," I replied. "I think it's time I see what belongs where." After we hung up, I locked the warehouse door behind me, not because I was afraid, because I was ready. My mom didn't leave me ruins, she left me receipts. If you inherited something that looked worthless, would you walk away? Or would you open every crate? Comment what you would do, and subscribe for more stories where the quiet legacy changes everything.